following paper is the result of an experience lasted 10 months circa in the Republic of Malta, a small archipelago situated in the south of the Mediterranean Sea. The opportunity to be exposed for such a long time to the Maltese tongue allowed me to observe and get interest in the Maltese linguistic reality. Historically, it comprehends all the powers that have ruled the Mediterranean Sea throughout the centuries: the Arabs, the Romans, the Knights of St. John's, and the British Empire. Linguistically, it contains one of the most characterizing elements of the linguistic: the phenomenon of code switching. The opportunity to share moments with Maltese students, colleagues, and friends in the university and at work provided me the idea to start writing this work. The phenomenon of the code switching in the Republic of Malta. Malta recognizes as officials two tongues, Maltese and English, and this is probably the main reason that pushes Maltese people to code switching the two languages. This phenomenon is the use in the same sentence or in the same discourse by the same speaker of both English and Maltese. The code switching is widespread in Malta as well as in its little sister Gozo. The main perspective this paper is focused on is the phenomenon of code switching in the archipelago of Malta. To get at its best the main perspective, it started from the unavoidable concept of bilingualism. The whole first chapter is focused on bilingualism and its linked concepts. Moreover, to really understand the code switching, it was necessary to outline the most important and influencing historical events that have radically changed the linguistic path of the highlands. The second chapter is focused on the history of the archipelago, but mostly from a linguistic point of view. Finally, the last chapter reports a little survey conducted by me in which examples of code switching has been submitted to a sample composed mostly by university students, in which they were asked to judge these cases of code switching. The proposed examples have been collected from the most popular and most unseen daily newspaper of the country, the Times of Malta. The sample of the survey is not scientifically or officially relevant. The number of men are less than the number of women. The geographic location the sample comes from is not divided in equal numbers. The survey has been a way that made possible to meet people who is daily involved in this phenomenon. Having such a sample, it has been decided to not focus the analysis on the data on variables like age, sex, or place of birth, but just on the motivations that supported the answers of the sample in order to understand what is the linguistic trend of the youth under the age of 30 about the code switching. Nowadays, Maltese tongue is the result of all the languages that passed throughout the centuries in the archipelago. Its lexicon is composed by elements from Semitic, German, and Romance linguistic families, and this makes Maltese a very peculiar language all over the world. Its lexicon is made by 32.42% of Semitic terms, 52% of Romance and Italian words, and 6.12% of English words. The remaining 9% is formed by words from other tongues and words coined by Maltese people itself. Even if the Romance percentage is higher than the Semitic, the Arabic derivation words regard the daily habits, while the Romance ones regard fields like agriculture, shipping, engineering, and all the branches regarding development. Code switching, as mentioned and analyzed, is the most significant linguistic fact happening in the highlands. The results of my research have shown how, despite the lack of written grammar rules, code switching is bound to a certain manner of use. Essentially, the main rule is to avoid as much as possible to code switch, especially the intrasentential forms. When someone abuses in code switching, come into play values related to the social economic identity of the interlocutors. The youth linguistic trend in the archipelago is the adoption of the English tongue as much as possible. It represents the world of work, especially the fields of tourism and gaming and betting companies, that each year attract experts coming from all over the world. As mentioned before, the code switching is the Ettinger answer to avoid being purist speaking only Maltese or being snob speaking only English. A very interesting point of view has been reported by Joseph Brinkat, who brought an opinion saying that Maltese has overcome periods worse than this, asserting that a potential death of a Maltese depends on the use that the population adopts. Maltese people has always shown humility, accepting the steady presence of an acrolect side by side with Maltese, recognizes its limits, but at the same time preserving it through the daily speaking in informal contexts like family and friends. Today, the main problem with English is its spread all over the world as vehicular language. From this perspective, English is becoming more and more essential, especially in a country in which it is considered official language. Today, English in Malta is a kind of passport, useful to whoever wants to go abroad, but also to who wants to remain in the island.